just back from Newtown, I guess you were there for a few days. Just some quick impressions of how that community is doing and really the impressions on you as you tried to cover this story.
You know, there are a lot of different people that have converged on that town, whether it's the aid workers, obviously the press. I mean, we're talking about a very small town of 27,000. That's Newtown, but when you look at the borough of Sandy Hook, it's even much, much smaller. And you add 500 to 1,000 journalists all swarmed around in that area. It's incredibly chaotic on some level because you see all of these people there that are trying to make sense of it. You see the press there trying to take the story and distribute it further. And then really at the center of it all are these people who are just in unimaginable grief. And it's palpable. It's every person that you talk to in the town. This is such a small area that they knew either directly the children or one of the faculty members that was shot.
Newtown only knows what did happen.
The children?
During our interview with Lillian Bittman, the list of those killed became official.
Just read me last name.
This isn't going to be nice. So.
Don't you film this.
Okay.
You knew at least a half a dozen of these people, these victims, personally.
Mm-hmm. Now we get to work. Now we support them. We do what we can. We bring them meals. We give them hugs. We love them. We take their other kids if they have any and help them with, I mean, we do whatever we can. We just help.
Help that will be necessary for Newtown, Connecticut to heal.
Do you have a sense yet, communities like ours, I mean, one of the reasons we're doing this program is for that same reason. Do you have a sense that this is affecting, impacting the rest of the country in a similar way, not certainly as direct as the folks who suffered through this, but impacting it in a way that perhaps the movie theater shooting did not?
You know, that's a good question. I think that one of the reasons this story seems more universal and broad, it's because they're all children. It's because that there's, regardless of what culture, what country you come from, it's an unequivocal atrocity. And it's something that's part of the reason why the international media descended on Sandy Hook and Newtown. And so I think that there are a lot of people that set their politics aside and they just start to think as parents. You know, across the board, you can find people at different ends of the political spectrum that can say, you know what, here's a reasonable policy in the middle that might be able to help make sure that this doesn't happen again, whether it's increasing school security, or whether it's increasing funding for X or Y. And even in the conversation that I had for the NewsHour a couple of nights ago with about 5 different residents, I mean, 3 of them said, hey, listen, banning guns is not what we're talking about. That's not what we're asking for. What we're saying is that there has to be some sort of common sense middle ground that we can meet at here.
I support responsible gun ownership. I've gone to firing ranges. I've fired guns. I don't own a gun. I would be happy to listen to responsible gun owners as well. I don't support banning all guns. Just weapons that can just keep shooting and shooting and shooting.
And it may not just be the guns. It might also be the ammunition. I mean, the fact that this boy was able to shoot more than 100 rounds in a short amount of time, something's wrong. Why is there that much ammunition out there? Maybe we need to do more in terms of legislation, in terms of tracking, in terms of what's happening in this household. There's a lot of ammo being sold to this household.
And gun culture is very embedded in American life. It's not very easy to just say, well, I think that, you know, we can just wish away weapon X or we can wish away behavior Y. So this is going to be a nuanced conversation, but what's interesting is that towns like Newtown could actually create a template for how other communities could have these conversations. Perhaps on programs like the one we're talking on now is where people can meet and start to say, okay, I see your point of view, but can we meet somewhere halfway?
You know, I haven't really researched this, but it seems to me that after Columbine, there were changes that took place. It wasn't just a tragedy that we all remember, but a lot of schools began to address this, a lot of communities began to address this. And I wonder if we've forgotten that that had some impact on this country as well, beyond the initial shock of the tragedy.
You know, one of the things that was interesting to me when you say that is that when I started looking around and talking to different school administrators, schools, people who were familiar with not just the Sandy Hook school, but they would say to me, yeah, well, we've trained for this. We had drills for this. That is an effect of Columbine. That, when I went to school, we trained for earthquakes. That was kind of radical for me. But
Or air raids when I was in
Yes.
school,
you're right, there are impacts that Columbine has had. And now, is there something that this community can do? Are there pieces of legislation that this spurs? Does Vice President Biden take this opportunity, and the president themselves, to say, we really have got to do some, as they say, quote unquote, meaningful impact? Well, what is that meaningful impact? And, there's lots of folks, we've had them on the NewsHour, who, disagree about what the right course is to move forward. Everyone can agree that this is a tragedy. Not so many people can agree on what the right steps to take are.
Hari, thanks.